shortly after we convinced your son to seek treatment for substance abuse. Newly sober, I believe Lewis first noticed the monotony of his daily life.
Oh no. Welcome back to Edith Finch. Last time we saw a lot about deaths in the family. In a really tragic way. And we've seen about all of these except for Edie, Dawn, Milton, Lewis. So a lot of the like really important characters to Edith. So I'm eager to see more about those characters.
My mom moved to India a week after graduation and got a job teaching English. Lewis was born a year later.
Oh. Some posters. I also noticed how Edith doesn't shut the door behind her. It gives me the impression that she's completely done with the house at that point, because we're not taking the steps to take care of it. And it makes me wonder if she feels like she's completely done with these memories too, because we're not taking the same steps to preserve it that the other members of the family did.
When my dad died, I don't think Mom knew where else to go. I'm sure Edie was happy to have her back.
Yeah, but it's not for a reason that we would probably want, right? Like, we don't want a kid to come back home because they've experienced a loss. Edith had mentioned that nobody really left in this family. And I imagine for Edie, like Edie's and like the great-grandma, you might kind of want that for your kids. Like, please go, have a life, be happy somewhere else. Like, get away from this. Flower beds for the kids. Milton, Edith, Lewis. Well, then Dawn and kids. This would be like at the very top of this house. But
the house had to get a little bigger, but Edie was used to that.
So they literally just put like new parts of the house on top of everything else because they refused to use the old rooms and clean them out. They just sealed them up. So yeah, you would have to keep expanding it. This feels cool with the lights and the view. Probably not safe though and structurally sound. What was the key for?
And for a while, things were good. Almost normal.
Oh, so they were all homeschooled here in this little room. Multiplication tables. There's that book in the mom's room about like how to teach critical thinking. Analyze objectively, never stop learning, assume nothing, respect criticism, ask tough questions. Our family history, fact or fiction? Edith. Oh, so literally like flashcards about the family to learn like their history? And books. Reading is a hoot! Oh, this view. Odin thing. The curse. Scientific method. Oh, an actual laptop. An actual laptop. To teach and learn. Ooh.
The beginning of the end was Milton's 10th birthday, when Edie gave him a castle.
I mean, castle would be cool, especially as a kid. This high up, though. Is that a mustache? Oh, we get in here. Anything else to see around here? Oh, those bags. Ah, the view from up here would have been fantastic. I mean, there's a drop down there, but... Is that where we get in? I guess I didn't try. Oh, that, I don't know why I would go back and try the door. Oh, they didn't put an end date on there. So what is in here? Is there the same kind of shrine as there is the other places? I'm sorry, there's paint footprints. Well, Milton was an older brother, because Edith was born in 99. Milton was 92, and Edith, in her own book, did put a date that he disappeared. So Lewis is the oldest brother, then Milton, then Edith. Oh, wow. A lot of art and miniatures. Maybe Milton did get away. Maybe he escaped. Oh, so you stand here and then pull yourself up. Wow. This art is really detailed. This would be such a cool place to be. He does have the same kind of shrine. So somewhere along the way, there is some kind of admittance. There's no end date. The magic paintbrush.
Milton Finch in The Magic Paintbrush.
A Jew. Who did the art?
I was 4 when Milton disappeared.
What actually happened with Milton? There's more up there. Shit, it just keeps going!
Mom spent months searching for my brother. Then she sealed the doors.
It's so sad.
Whatever Milton had found in the house, Mom didn't want it getting out.
What do you mean, found in the house? That implies that he found something terrible. And that it consumed him. The game is really good design where it just naturally leads you to the next place that you're supposed to go with this narrative.
Mom definitely blamed Edie, but I think Lewis blamed himself.
Why?
After he graduated, he just spent more and more time in his room. Until Mom got him a job at the cannery.
Oh, and they had so much canned food. I mean, the tuna, right? Like, that's... But I mean, like, even this stuff... No, by then, the stuff in the basement would have been not needed. Oh, these hammocks. It would be cool, kind of gut-lurching, if the wind picked up too much. Wow, we just go in through here. Oh, nope, 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 nope. Grab it again. I do think that the first time I played this, the controller was working fine. I just wasn't used to the controls and, like, how they work. And it doesn't give you a control screen. They just plop you into the game. Which is very immersive. Like, I'm not complaining. It's super immersive that way. It just kind of made it hard for me to tell what to do with the controls.
Lewis's room smelled very, very familiar.
Yeah.
That part of him lived on.
Like hookah? Oh, the psychedelic posters. Or like the UV posters, that's a better way to put it. Controller, the bottle opener, the hookah. And the pie. So, okay, maybe not the hookah. Maybe it smelled like weed in here. Is that what she's saying? No.
Lewis and I spent a lot of time playing games together, but he was surprisingly bad at them. He died a lot.
High school diploma. Where's the TV for your gaming system? This is a fridge. Oh, never mind. Found your TV. Locker contents. Oh, from the cannery. Oh. I mean, are these... Oh, no, they're not. I was like, are these like the CRT? Nope. I mean, so... The more we go along the family tree, the more modern everything is. I suppose it makes sense, right? That's a second pipe? How much were you smoking? And so we have like wireless headsets. It used to be that there was like no technology. And then it was like the old like 80s computers and then like CRT monitors. And now we have like 2 monitors, wireless headset, video games. It's in the locker.
Dear Mrs. Finch, as Lewis's psychiatrist, I can understand your desire for an explanation. As I see it, the trouble began in January, shortly after we convinced your son to seek treatment for substance abuse. Newly sober, I believe Lewis first noticed the monotony of his daily life.
Oh no. How do I let go?
He kept working at the cannery.
Oh.
But he withdrew part of himself. In our sessions, I saw the same behavior. His mind began to...
Mind began to what?
wander.
Oh, like he's playing a game in the other part of his mind. Being, like, disassociated.
I asked him to describe it.
Oh, doing 2 things at once. I'm terrible at this. I gotta do, like, one and then the other.
He said he started small. Imagining a labyrinth. He'd feel his way about.
Helps the job is mindless.
Then something moved. Bats.
Okay.
And toads.
Oh. Does he have an accident? The blade? Because of this, like, disassociation type thing. I feel like this is where this is going.
And things that have not names. He knew it was all in his head.
So after a while, this becomes more interesting. Like, it's already more detailed than our work. Yet we're dealing with, like, heavy machinery and dangerous tools.
But he took it very seriously. I had hoped he'd find himself.
Well, but at that point, like, there's some other stuff that it sounds like needed to be figured out. Like trauma. Like, potentially that's why he was using the drugs in the first place, right? To cope with these things that he didn't know how to cope with. And then once that was gone, right? Because they were saying he started doing this when he became sober. So once the drugs were gone, what are you left with if you don't know how to cope with this trauma?
But he found something more.
Oh shit, it's 3D.
I worried about him then. daydreaming at the cannery. I spoke with his boss.
Did you have consent?
But he said Lewis had become a model employee. Methodical, tireless, focused.
I ask if there's permission because you can't just go talking to people's bosses because of confidentiality with this stuff. I mean, yeah, he's tireless because he's not there.
Like a whole new Lewis.
Not actually Lewis, though, you could argue.
So I let him go on.
What did Lewis have to say about this, though? Like... Oh no. It's taking up a bigger part. That this is what's gonna happen.
I even encouraged him.
Mm.
It seemed very promising at first. He told me he'd made a new friend. On the edge of a city he named Lewis Topia. He built the city up slowly, brick by brick. Then he made musicians. And songs for them to play. He talked about starting a band. And he was always humming something. Every day his imagination grew stronger. He no longer spoke at the cannery. But his chopping was as reliable as ever.
Would the mom blame herself?
Then one day it struck him.
Would the mom blame herself for the fact that she got him this job?
That all the cheering crowds, even the stones under his feet, were all in his imagination.
Oh no.
So he could do whatever he wished. He held an election for mayor. And he won.
Video game sound effect.
They begged him to stay, but his mind was already wandering. It became a game for him.
Oh shit, it's more the screen.
He'd conquer a city, then immediately push on. New Louisville.
Oops.
St. Louis. He started drifting away from our reality. Minneapolis, until one day he forgot to go home from the cannery.
Nobody commented on this?
Even as his mother pleaded with him, part of Lewis kept sailing on.
Okay, someone did notice.
In Lewisburg, he heard rumors of a
Ooh, beautiful prince or handsome? His brother?
beautiful prince. The prince was on his own quest for
Radiant rainbows.
Radiant rainbows.
Like when we can choose the story. I suppose it's like what it's saying Lewis did.
He followed the sound of his...
Silver harp?
silver harp. His chase led him to a golden palace east of the sun and west of the moon. Even then, his logic remained sound.
Oh no, it's the whole screen. Like it's his whole life.
He knew the world was all in his imagination.
How do these fish? I suppose they're giving us more fish now to like increase that.
But he was so proud of having created it. In his own eyes, he'd become something greater than a king. For someone who'd never known success in the real world, I think it was overwhelming. And then it struck him that the real Lewis was not the one chopping salmon, but the one climbing the steps of a golden palace. My imagination is as real as my body, he told me. It was hard to argue with him.
This hour locker. Oh, he came out of this door.
I began to forget the world we know. I think it pained him to remember Lewis, the cannery worker.
That's Lewis right there.
He began to despise the man with a royal contempt.
Oh. We go up this?
I still thought I could save him. Even after he said he was being crowned king over all the lands of wonder. The palace would be packed with his companions. Including the wise Calico who'd insisted on advising him.
Molly.
His prince waited, holding his crown. There was only one thing left to do.
God, no.
And the rest I think you know. Mrs. Finch, your son was a kind man who will be missed by all of us who knew him.
My brother was really cool. I wish you could have met him.
No, I can't say this with like certainty, but I don't feel like a psychiatrist would write a letter like that to a family member. Not something that detailed by any means. Because at what point is it not providing peace to family? Like that was more of a storytelling thing, just like the rest of them, right? To me, that shows why mental health is so important in so many ways. This idea of talking about it and working on it. We treat heart attacks as though they're serious, but not mental health. It's sad. All of this is sad. It's really sad when you can see it coming and you can't stop it. Awful.
On the way back from Lewis's funeral, my mom told me to start packing.
Did they leave? Because we haven't heard about the mom or Edie. I suppose those are. These are the last ones. Edie and Dawn.
She waited until the day before we left to tell Edie.
Oh. Yeah, because there was a comment about Edie potentially going to a retirement home or a nursing home, which I don't think she would like. But it's also sad to think of her being left alone in the home. It's no good option.
I'm not sure if she wanted to make it easier or harder.
I'm sure she wanted to make it easier.
I wish we'd stayed.
I think this is Dawn's room. The packing stuff. The posters for Milton.
But I understand why we left.
In loving memory of Lewis. A water filter. It all gets more modern the farther along we go. Edith and Mom. Wow, they left so fast the fridge is open.
My mom ended up leaving everything behind.
All these family photos, all these memories. Oh, she wrote this book to teach and to learn 7 ways to create a fulfilling classroom. She wrote that.
What happened that night had been coming for a long time.
What happened?
Maybe it should have come sooner. But it had to end one way or another. All that's left now is to tell you about that last night.
So this is Edith's room. Other. Oh, is it a... Oh, I was gonna say a quill, but it's a pen.
That whole last day, Edie just watched us pack and didn't say a word.
What do you say?
Until supper, when she raised her glass and said,
"To our final night together, and all our final nights apart."
Grandma, you know what I said about alcohol. Some of your medications are very
Edith,
specific.
I left a present for you in the hallway. Why don't you go open it? The grown-ups have to argue now.
I'm sorry, you're right. We're all leaving tomorrow. Let's just enjoy our last...
I'm not leaving.
Edith, you're excused.
Oh, Edith was the pink. What's in the hall?
the power had been shut off that morning, but Edie always had plenty of candles.
Surprised there's not a generator.
When my mom sealed the library, I don't think she knew about the other entrance.
Of course there's another entrance.
Or that Edie had a key to it.
That thing you're afraid of isn't going to end when you leave the house.
Like, you can't stop death. If it happens, it happens. You can't protect.
Edith has a right to know these stories.
My children are dead because of your stories! I think it's best if Edith and I leave tonight. We'll have the nursing home send a van for you in the morning, okay?
This idea of what causes the death in the family. Is it just death or is it this curse? Oh, history of the Finches. It's like Edie wanted her, what, great-grandchild at this point to have a connection to the rest of the house. Or not the rest of the house, the rest of the family.
Dear Edith, there's so many stories I wish I could tell you, but there's only time for one. This is about what happened on the night you were born. That night, the tide went way, way out.
This about Milton?
It was the first and last time I ever saw the old house aground.
Oh!
There'd been an earthquake out in the middle of the ocean.
Oh
They
shit.
called it the lowest tide in 1,000 years.
Like a tidal wave coming in, kind of an earthquake? Then the tide goes super far out because the water's gonna come super far in.
God, it smelled awful. You know, I've seen that house every day of my life.
This isn't about Milton. Please don't be about me.
But I never thought I'd go back to it. When the fog rolled in, I lost my way. I got turned around.
Yeah, I did. I think something that strikes me as sad about not hearing all these stories that this part of the history of the family is then lost. I can see that desire of wanting to hold on to them. I can also see the desire to let them go if they're painful, right? Both sides feel valid. This rock
For
is...
a while, I wondered.
This rock is my only thing that I can see, and I was just gonna say I don't want to leave it. Ugh. I guess I'm wondering.
I started seeing things.
And hearing.
Things I'd forgotten had ever existed.
Like what?
But when I saw them, they felt like old friends.
Oh, is it the family? Dang. I think that book would still be, like, have pages. Ah.
That night, a lot of things came back to me. Or maybe I came back to them.
Wow, the skeleton of this house. With a, like, buoy.
Things I can't explain, but that I need you to try and...
Edith, what are you doing in here?
No!
It's not. Edith!
Mom, you're gonna rip it. Let go.
No!
Scream, but Mom dragged me to the car.
Are we going back to the library?
I never saw Great Grandma Edie again.
No!
The next morning, the van came to pick her up, but she was already gone.
Where was she?
After that, we moved around a lot. We both tried to make the best of it. A few years went by. My mom didn't like to talk about it. But she started getting sick a lot. The rest happened pretty quickly.
Oh.
She got better for a while, and then she didn't. And then I was alone. The last Finch left alive. Until I found out about you. I'm still not sure what to tell you about all this. If we lived forever, maybe we'd have time to understand things. But as it is, I think the best we can do is try to open our eyes. And appreciate how strange and brief all of this is. This journal was supposed to be for you.
Thought maybe it's for Edith.
But now I hope you'll never see it. I just want to meet you and tell you all these stories myself.
Not like being born right now. In imagery, are
I
we?
guess if you're reading this now, things didn't work out that way. This is where your story begins. I'm sorry I won't be there to see it. It's a lot to ask, but I don't want you to be sad that I'm gone. I want you to be amazed that any of us ever had a chance to be here at all. Good luck.
So Edith didn't make it. It's really sad. What are my thoughts on the game? I really like this storytelling with like the letters showing up and guiding the way, right? Like you get to this place where you can just kind of follow the letters, you always know where to go. It's also really hard to know when you can talk or not talk though, because there's not like a usual place where they show up. And there's a part of me that wants to know the answers to these things that don't have answers. Like, what happened to Milton? What happened to Edie? And there's a part of me that really... I don't feel bitter, but, like, I really want to know that. But then there's this other part of me that goes, well, isn't that kind of how life is? We don't always find the answers to these questions. I like how natural the game felt when it came to how the stories were tragic, but it reflects how people can be, and grief and how we grieve. I don't feel like I looked at the mom or the grandma and said, like, you're right or you're wrong. There is no right or wrong way to grieve. And these are these different ways that we can handle grief. Even this idea of writing a journal for our children to read, like this idea of leaving something for our children. It's a way that we can pass things down to future generations, just like Edie did for Edith. This story is so much about family and how we handle things with family, and how we handle grief and loss. And I feel like the story kind of talked about it like, well, it's a family curse, but calling it a family curse inherently feels like how we would talk about grief. Or loss, if you will. It's a really intriguing story. I found myself drawn in a lot where it's like, well, what about like what's going to happen next? Or like, what are the next stories that we're going to be told? They were never dull. So I'm glad I played it. I really liked it. The one with Lewis, I think, was my favorite. I say favorite reluctantly. It's like saying, what's your favorite death? I mean, like, none of these were my favorite, but like, it built up the most sense of impending doom. It's such a sad story. I would love to hear what your guys' thoughts are on the game and the videos. And I will see you guys next time.